Joining us now live in Atlanta, Lieutenant Governor, Georgia, Republican Casey Cagle. We have him as the favorite to get elected the next governor of Georgia in November, replacing outgoing two-term limited Republican Governor Nathan Deal, an old, what we call FOJ, friend of John's from back in the day. And Casey Cagle, we have endorsed his candidate with great enthusiasm. Mr. Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle, great to have you, man.
Great to be with you, John. Hope things are going well, and I'm glad you're back in Georgia for a couple of days.
I know. It's been a lot of fun seeing some old friends over the last several days, and I've got some family here also, so I've definitely enjoyed it. You know, I'm excited about your gubernatorial race, and the first thing I want to get to is you engineered one of the biggest tax cut in Georgia income tax history. Can you walk us through how you doubled down on the Trump tax cut, how you got that done, sir, and what it means?
Well, obviously what took place in Washington and Trump's leadership presented a beautiful opportunity for us at the state level, and we were going to be getting a windfall as a result of the change in tax policy, and to bring our policy in line with what the federal government is. It actually was a $5.7 billion worth of tax relief to the citizens of Georgia, and this allowed us to do two things. One is double the standard deduction, but more importantly, reduce the rate. Georgia has basically a flat tax for the most part. It's a 6% tax, and this allowed us to go to 5.75 the first year, and then the second year it'll go to 5.5. And so this will result to about $1 billion net tax benefit to the actual citizens of our state, and it just makes us more competitive. I mean, Georgia's the number one place to do business in. We have been now 5 years in a row. Having a low-tax environment is critical to that. Of course, our cost of living and our regulatory and our tort system, and then, of course, building a workforce is second to none. All of those things are critical. And so this actual tax cut is going to benefit every Georgia family, certainly the middle class, but it's also going to benefit corporations and small businesses as well.
I mean, so you're talking about $1 billion that's going back into the local Georgia economy in the pockets of people to do what they want, rather than go to the government. And it does make you more competitive, no doubt. Helps the economy, spending, growth. But it's $1 billion that would have gone into your coffers, right? Into the general fund.
Well, actually, there's a $5.7 billion that could have gone there. But, you know, the choice that we all have as conservatives is, you know, does government, you know, have better results in spending your money, or fundamentally the individuals and empowering them to make those choices? And obviously we believe, and I believe very strongly, that the more money we put in the pockets of individuals, they're better, they'll make better decisions. And it's not just simply in terms of trying to limit the scope of government, because tax cuts afford you that opportunity. Making sure that government is very focused on the core competencies that they need to be committed to, and certainly that's public safety, education, and infrastructure. But oftentimes, you know, in government, there are too many bureaucrats that want to spend that money, and so this is an opportunity to give it back to the citizens of Georgia, and I think we'll see greater productivity as a state and see our GDP continue to grow, which it has been tremendously.
Lieutenant Governor Cagle, so how did you make up almost $6 billion? Because you take that out of your budget. Did you have to cut things out? Did you have to streamline? I mean, how did you make up that money?
It's really a function of two things. One is obviously prioritization. I think in any budgetary process, we have to look at one, you know, what are the program-based budgeting components that we're doing. So for every agency, what are their core competencies that they need to do, and so focusing them very directly on the things that they need to do, not the things they want to do, but the things they need to do. And then secondly is beginning with a zero-based balanced budget approach. That in itself allows for them to not just prioritize, but also start at ground zero every single year. Too often, I think budgeting begins just a look at continuation versus really focusing our efforts on, on those core competencies. And so a lot of that obviously is a part of, of the strategy going forward, and has afforded us the ability to be more efficient, more effective with the resources that we do have, and obviously allocating those resources as we are articulated in that $5.7 billion tax cut.
Well, and because you're decreasing the rates, and by the way, so our listeners know, this is the first, it's not only the biggest, but the first tax cut that Georgia's had since they actually instituted the income tax. So good governance there. But you also doubled the standard deduction for married filers, $3,000 to $6,000, and you doubled the individual filers deduction from $2,300 to $4,600. So I was doing a little math here before you came on, and I had Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones on yesterday, and somebody making a family of four making, $80,000 in Georgia, $70,000, which is about middle, a little bit upper middle, is going to save like $1,200 in taxes. That's a lot of money.
That's a tremendous amount of money, and you're
$100
exactly
a month.
right. And this is what it's about, giving more money back to individuals, and that stimulates the economy. That's how greater productivity occurs. And when you think of what $1,200 means to a family and what they can do with that versus government, going out and and renovating a park. I mean, not to say parks are not important, but we've got it doesn't really stimulate the economy like putting money in individuals' pockets. And then, of course, the small business owner. I mean, this is, where 90% of all of the jobs are created. When they have this kind of favorable tax program, then obviously it's going to stimulate their ability to expand and do more things, not just for their employees, but also, create greater productivity for them as well.
We're live today in Atlanta on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. We're with Georgia's Republican Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle. He is running for Georgia governor as a Republican. That'll be decided in a primary. Casey, when is that?
Yeah, May
22nd.
May 22nd is the primary.
Let me jot that down. I should probably come back for that.
Yes, you should. You should come back and vote as well.
I wish I could vote as well. I'll get my friends to do it, though, but I'll come back and I'll do my show live at your campaign headquarters party watch that night. I'll get in touch with your folks and do that. That'll be a lot of fun. And I've got you as the favorite in this. And it's a runoff situation. So if you don't get over 50%, then you have to go to a runoff. Is that that's
right?
The way it still
That's
works?
correct. We've got 7 in the contest right now, and so you have to be at 50 plus 1. We're polling about 43% right now, and we have organized all over the state. We've been to 159 counties, which is what we have here in Georgia, and carrying this message across. We've got over 105 sheriffs that have endorsed our campaign, and well over 2,000 on the ground in terms of volunteers. So we're in a great spot, but we have to execute. We're getting ready to be up on TV for about $4.5 million worth of TV through the primary. So we're in a great spot. But again, as I tell my staff all the time, you got to work like you're 10 points down. But our campaign's different. I mean, I tell people I'm not running against anyone. I'm not running for a job. I'm not running for a title. I'm running to make a difference. And I think a positive campaign on issues and ideas and demonstrating how our conservative principles can really articulate a better future for individuals and obviously for our state, and really a record. I mean, when you look at what we've been able to accomplish in Georgia, as lieutenant governor and partnering with the governor, we've seen tremendous GDP growth through as a state. We've seen over 40,000 businesses, almost 700,000 jobs that have been created since 2011. The busiest airport in the world, the fastest growing port. And we're growing by, about 10% annually in terms of population growth. So we're on the right track, and that's what good conservative leadership will provide you.
Lieutenant Governor Cagle, tell me about your policy on sanctuary cities in Georgia. In 2010, 13, and 16, you led the General Assembly as the Lieutenant Governor. You led Georgia's General Assembly to ban and defund sanctuary cities in Georgia, along with legislation that made it against the law for any local government to shield criminal illegal immigrants from deportation. Explain how you were able to do that, because it could be a blueprint for other states. How did you get that done?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to recognize where the problem is. And sanctuary cities, those entities that are trying to create a safe harbor for criminal illegal aliens, which is an important notation that needs to be articulated. So what I did is I said, first of all, we need to outlaw them. So we did that. We passed a law that says that you can't do it, but just passing a law doesn't solve it. And then what we did was something really unique, is we said for every single city and county in Georgia, they have to demonstrate to a Department of Community Affairs, in written format through an affidavit that would demonstrate that they are doing nothing that would be viewed as a sanctuary city, and it's a very strong criteria. So all of those came in. None of those cities or counties in Georgia were sanctuary cities. And then along with that, you have to say that if you do choose to go down this path, then we're going to defund you. So you have the chance of losing not just state resources, but federal resources that are flowing through to your community as well. We have one in particular that I am currently having to hold accountable, and it is the city of Decatur. They currently have issued a statement that basically tells their local law enforcement officers that you cannot communicate or cooperate if you detain a criminal illegal alien or pull them over. You cannot detain them and cooperate and communicate with the federal ICE or Homeland Security. This is clearly a violation of the sanctuary city law that we have currently on the books. I've taken them to the Immigration Review Board, which is an entity that we set up for an accountability measure, and that case is now pending. And not only are they putting the safety of their citizens at risk, but more importantly, it's a violation of the oath of office for those local law enforcement officers as well. And so we're going to push this all the way to ensure that every city in our state is making sure that they're abiding by the laws. I mean, criminal illegal aliens. So the federal government has issued a detainer on these individuals and said, if you pull them over, we need you to communicate and cooperate with us. And we need every single community and local law enforcement officer doing that. And Decatur is not right now. So it's a huge problem that we have to address.
So it sounds like you're staying on it. You're going to hold them accountable and just not give them a pass to let them do whatever they please, which has been really that's one of the problems in Virginia, Florida, and other states I cover, where everybody does their own thing, and then those cities become magnets, obviously, for people that are here illegally.
Oh yeah, no. There's a clearly a liberal agenda that goes on all across the country, and the liberal agenda is that these individuals they view as not criminals, but if they look at the facts, they will see that we're talking about sex offenders, murderers, and other types of drug traffickers. These are serious issues that need to be dealt with. Not to mention that they're here illegally anyway, and so this is an important point to denote, and we're going to do our job to ensure that our communities are safe and our citizens also feel safe as well.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle, I'm going to get to your charter school policy, but I got one inside baseball question. I just got to tell my audience this. When I was to cover Georgia after sine die, when the last day of the General Assembly, the Lieutenant Governor would have a midnight invitation-only roundtable ending the session with selected media journalists at midnight in his office. Do you still have that?
Well, some of the media are not as cooperative as you were back in the day. So
remember when you did that?
The invitation has become very, very small at this point, but that's why we might need to get you back down here.
I know. That was a lot of fun when we did that. I went 3 times straight, and that was like, actually, for some of us, the highlight of the the General Assembly.
For those that may not know, I mean, we have a 40-day session, so those 40 days basically stretch out over about a 3-month period, and so there's a lot of festivity that occurs on the 40th day, the 40th night. It ends at midnight, of course, and then the way our chamber is set up to get the visual, the ICANN as Lieutenant Governor, as the presiding officer of the Senate, can look all the way across as we open up the doors through the rotunda all the way to see the speaker himself, and we get on a phone and we sine die all at the same time, and so it's and then papers go up in the air, and it's a very festive event to kind of commemorate the fact that our session is finally over. So it's an exciting time for sure.
And then you would have the post-midnight special invitation reporter debrief, and it was by special invitation only. Thanks for inviting me, because that was a fun thing. I've got about a minute more here. You've developed back in 2007 a charter school system. How is that working now?
The charter system is just working beautifully. We have about 30% of all of our schools today that are underneath the charter system, and this is a contractual agreement that gives greater flexibility, but in exchange, higher accountability measures that are coming out of our schools. And so we now have these accountability contracts for virtually all the schools except 2 within our state, and it has afforded us tremendous opportunities to move the needle in major ways. We've seen graduations move from 60% to about 85% across the state, which is a remarkable number in itself, and every other metric has increased dramatically as well. We still have more to do, particularly with 3rd grade reading, but we're very focused on that. Another piece of that is my College and Career Academy network, and this is teaching kids on various career pathways, exploring those early on in their career at the junior and senior year, so they can determine, what their purpose in life needs to look like and through a career. And so we've gotten those to a 98% graduation rate, but the other thing is we've moved their income from $16,000 for a normal high school student to $32,000. So we've doubled their income, and they're leaving there with industry certification right out of high school. Many of them leave with an associate's degree already under their belt, preparing them for the workforce. So it's a great value-added proposition, and that's how we get to greater productivity and obviously fight the issue of poverty as well.
We're out of time. Lieutenant Governor, people want more information on your campaign. Where do they go?
Just go to CaseyCagle.com. Easy to find. And, John, it's so great to catch up with you again as well, and I'm glad things are going well for you, and look forward for you being back in Georgia real soon.